Right, it's 18 minutes past 9. I'm delighted to say Vinny Perth is with us in studio. Vinny, good morning to you. How are you?
Morning, all good.
We get a lot of speculation at this time of year. It's for those of us who enjoy a bit of gossip around transfers, this is a good time of year. And we'd focus on the Irish players and those who need a move versus those who don't need a move. So you've been looking at this first. Who's on your list for players who do need a move?
I suppose like the obvious ones are Jason Knight for me. I think Derby being relegated and doing so well and playing so many games, I think that's an important one, and it's also how important he is for our Irish side. I think it's huge that he gets a bit of clarity. My concern around Jason has been we've not seen lots of rumours around him so far.
Yeah.
But that can often, he could have something sorted out for argument's sake, but it's been fairly quiet around him, so he certainly needs a move. Derby looks a bit of a mess, so for me that's a really, really important one for us, and because he's so important to the team.
Yeah, like he is essentially a starter at this point.
Yeah, I think he's played himself into it. We have seen inconsistencies with him. With so many of our young players, I think the last window was a massive lesson for us all in terms of we've seen the inconsistencies in the squad, and I think that comes with so many young players coming through.
Yeah. So would a season in League One be very beneficial if he played every single minute, or has he gone past that stage now? He needs to be Championship minimum.
I'd like to think he needs to be Championship minimum. I think it's very, very difficult. Like, the problem is the club he's at. When you look at people coming through, say Wigan last year who got promoted, you're not sure. Derby's a big club, but you're not sure that club are going to be chasing promotion.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you're around the mess of a club, your form ultimately gets affected. So for me, I think it's probably crucial for his career that he gets out there in the next couple of months. And I think it's so, again, I can't emphasise enough how important he is to that Irish team and how we play.
We've talked a lot about that number 10 role, and is he the player you're kind of earmarking for that into the future, or even kind of like...
So I was listening earlier on to Owen talks about, I don't know if it's a new word, but the depth chart. Must bring that one into football. It's been a good
that's
the
a
rugby.
idea. We've been doing it for rugby for ages.
Yeah, so
Football Manager have it.
Oh,
so
well, maybe
pinnacle.
I need to start playing Football Manager. Yeah. So, but when you think of that position, we've got him. We've got
that's the most withering thing anybody's ever said in this show.
Yeah, I know.
Sure, it's a good game.
Right. So I heard.
I think Owen was a little bit addicted to it for a while.
Right. So.
Problem.
But when we think of that position, right, we've got Jason Knight, who's made a huge impact. We get that. We Jamie McGrath, who's sensational away in Portugal, I would say. And again, his club form didn't help him in the last window. And then beyond that, we're probably going to Conor Hourihan in that type of position if we're going to play that way. So we really are struggling. We haven't really... I've cried for Alan Brown on this show. I think he's someone that has done it at a decent level in the Championship, but we probably struggle in that position. So this is probably the problem with where we are with Irish football. We need some of these young players to come through and
so minutes for a night next season in the Championship. Absolutely. At a club who play a decent style of football. Do you have anybody in mind where you think he'd be good, or is there?
Well, no, you look at clubs like someone like Middlesbrough who've done some decent business, and some Irish players, you could see them, it looks like they're going to chase promotion to a point, not recklessly, but it looks like they're doing it in a sort of good way. Being in and around Middlesbrough, you can, in terms of the club, as part of the pro licence, brilliant club, and you would say if you were looking at now, somewhere like Middlesbrough would really, really good and probably suit his style.
Okay, so next on the list, Will Smallbone?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting one because he sort of hasn't made a senior debut yet, but I don't think he has now. But when I watch the 21s, I've been to a lot of their games recently, and in this campaign, he looks one that's probably above the level of everyone else in the squad. And I know his goals, people will say, well, his goals, that's an obvious thing to say, but it's more than that. He's come back from a really serious knee injury, and he's got back in and around that Southampton squad. But I see they're willing to let him go on loan, which is, people would see that maybe is that negative. No, I think it's part of his progression because he's under contract till 2024. So I think that's one where he looks a cut above everything else that's coming through at the moment. And we all know these young players can come late and different things, but he looks like one that particularly, I would say, we sort of struggling in midfield, again going back to our depth charts. Where's our 6, 8 and 10s? And he looks like definitely one that we could do in a move to the Championship.
Where does he play?
Well, He's played in the Irish team. He's played narrow off for the 21s. He's played narrow off the world, but he's by and large that sort of number 8. He'd be very similar in style, I would say, to Jason Malumbi. He would have a lot of similar attributes. The two of them would be very similar.
Okay, so we really need him to get some game time to see if he can get into the senior squad and then start pushing for a place.
Yeah, and again, it's like I think this Irish squad has a lot of strength and depth, but only in certain areas. I think when you look at where we struggle, I think if something happened to Josh Cullen, for argument's sake, where's our natural number 6? I don't see it, and I think his levels have to go up. If you look at our fullback positions, yes, we've got Matt Doherty, yes, we've got Seamus Coleman, but like when you look at the left, our probably first choice is a battle at the moment between James McLean and Enda Stevens, and then you're going into say someone like Joe Bagan again, another one that is interesting. We sort of tend to the Premiership Irish people but he's played over 20 games for Cardiff in the Championship. Again, just a young left back coming through. So, you know, we're heading in the right direction, but we need, the key is these moves this summer for a lot of these players, small bones and so many of them.
Next is Troy Parrott.
Yeah, this is an interesting one because Troy Parrott was the saviour of Irish football not that long ago. You know, we really spoke highly of him, and I don't think his form has necessarily went off the charts. He just went to, when you go down to the level League One, it's really difficult. It's for want of better words, proper man's football. You've got to be ready, and it took time. But when you look at Troy, you see somebody who looks like he's aged a couple of years in the last 6 months. In his interviews, in his training regime, he's on holidays at the moment, and I believe on social media he's putting up videos of him training on the beach, where we have seen videos of him being in Dubai and
having
probably,
a party.
And I mean, the small things, people need to enjoy themselves, but at the same time there's a mindset from Troy there. So when you look at the club he's at, Son and Kane are 30, 31, is he the next one for Spurs that they're going to develop? We don't know. But I think a loan move, and again away from League One in a Championship club where he's really tested, and we find out about him, and we find out, is he ready to make next to make.
Are Tottenham like too big at this moment? Like last season almost would have felt like the perfect time, because you would have had not Champions League football, you would have had was it Conference League and was it Europa? I can't remember. Playing at a level that's not Champions League. So between Premier League, Champions League, he may get like first weekend of January in the FA Cup, maybe a few EFL Cup games. Is that going to be enough really for someone at 20 years of age? Yeah,
like sometimes we're guilty of saying, and it's a big thing in football where they say, got to go along, got to play. Sometimes it's great to be around the highest level of world football, which Spurs, the Premiership, is. But I think when you look at the clubs that seem to be interested in Swansea, Middlesbrough, Preston, QPR, they're sort of middle to high end Championship clubs. If you went to something like that far exceeds sitting on a bench for Spurs, absolutely, or battling to get into the squad.
He's done that already as well for a period of time at Tottenham. Like, I mean, is maybe not, like maybe you go back and maybe a full season playing with Harry Kane in training is something that actually brings you on. But like,
what's the story?
He's not already completed that.
How beneficial is that? Like,
it's huge. It's absolutely huge. But there's like a sweet spot where you can stay too long.
Right.
So, like, again, we look at someone like Kevin Kelleher, and for me, being around that Liverpool squad, I wouldn't be in a rush. If I was advising Kevin, I wouldn't be in a rush to go on loan. Where everyone else is, you're operating at the highest level in world football. And when you go down to League One, League Two, Championship, it's difficult.
One of the whispers that we heard about Kevin Kelleher was that one of the Dutch Premier League or the Dutch Eredivisie teams who have qualified for the Champions League might be interested in taking him. Or, you know, it's certainly been floated as if this was something, if he was to go to somewhere like that where there was Champions League football, would that be better than going to the Championship? Is that where you suddenly go, ooh, now I'm interested?
Eredivisie football and Championship, there's not a lot in the difference. You could probably see how that Saturday, Wednesday in the Championship might suit a young player.
Right.
Now his style is very much suited to Eredivisie, and he's so calm on the ball and his distribution is sensational. But look, they're really difficult judgment calls. There's like, people just think you need to play, and I get that. But it's been in around some of the best manager in the world, best goalkeeper in the world, every single day.
So he should stay.
For me, he stays at Liverpool. Like, could you imagine Alisson? I don't actually curse the player, but imagine Alisson got an injury.
Well, yeah,
right?
he has done before.
So,
Right, and something 6, 8, 10 weeks. Imagine sitting in Cardiff or Middlesbrough while someone else is taking your spot there in Champions League football, and he's played in some of the biggest games in football in terms of big finals, Champions League games. Imagine somebody sitting there. Now, it's a judgment call. He's only young. He's as a goalkeeper terms.
Well, he's got another 20 years if he wants it.
Yeah, at least 10 to 15 at the highest level.
Yeah.
So I think the patience there is the key, and with young players that can be difficult, I get it, but I wouldn't be in a rush if it was Kevin Kelleher.
Okay. Jeff Hendrick and Nathan Collins are the last two on the list of players that should move. Hendrick just needs to play games, right? He's at that stage of his career now.
Yeah, because when we look at our midfield at the moment, and people have been critical of Jeff and his performance at different stages, and some cases rightly so, other not so, because of, I think he was a little bit exposed in terms of the shape of our midfield. But people like Jeff Brown, Alan Brown and Conor Horan are so important to this young squad, and I don't think you can emphasise that enough, how that we need these experienced players still in and around our squad over the next 2 to maybe 4 years. And I think Newcastle, he's not going to be at Newcastle, I don't think there's any doubt about that, but he went to QPR and didn't play. He played maybe 10 games, and for someone of his quality, I think the next choice he gets, and what we've got to do as a football sort of public, is accept if our players are playing the Championship, that is good enough level for where we're currently at. So huge window for Jeff Hendrick, and as part of the bigger overall Irish squad, because we don't have strength and depth in that midfield.
And with Collins, the list of clubs who are interested, it's phenomenal. So what do you do?
I'm this one, I'm on the fence in. Like, you put Nathan Collins in as in needs a move, because, you know, is that train passing now and it's time to jump? Really difficult one. Or are Burnley looking at this saying, unless we get close to 30 million for this kid, what's the point of selling him? We paid 15 for him. We've got to make good money on him, or else use him to get back into the Premiership. People, you know, Burnley have signed a couple of players, and people are presuming, oh well, they've signed the centre half, that must be because to let Nathan Collins go. I don't think that's necessarily the case, because they've lost Ben Mee and Tarkowski. So it looks like, would Nathan Collins benefit from playing week in, week out in the Championship, being the real leader for that squad, being sort of, I'm not going to say captain, I don't know who else they'll keep, but I mean the main centre half of a team at that level,
an
or
interesting
go
manager.
to Newcastle.
And Vincent Kompany as well.
Yeah, and they're all such difficult judgment calls. That means I don't know the right answer to it. My advice would be, depending on the club.
Right. So if you're going to play week in, week out in the Premier League, go. But if you're going to be a squad player who plays whatever cup matches, don't go.
But by and large, like, guys, how many Premiership clubs just have two centre halves? Every time you're going to a Premiership club, you're going and you're battling for your place.
Yeah, they have 6, most of them.
You know, maybe some like Burnley have stuck with 2, but that's more down to Sean Dyche's management and things. If he was signing for Leicester, I just see that as a dream move for him. I think you could see him playing there. You could see, all right, they've got Fofana,
they're going to sell
brilliant, but
they're going to cash in on Fofana as soon as he plays 10 games in a row.
They're looking at probably the next window, the Christmas window. He plays, he's gone for 60-70 million, you would imagine. So perfect.
And that's better than going straight to one of the super clubs where you're never going to play, and you could end up like Nathan Aki.
But I've heard talk of our Manchester United interest in him. Like, I don't know whether we've got green tinted glasses here. Like, as much as being brilliant with Irish lenses, are people looking at him going, yeah, he's going to replace Harry Maguire? I don't think so. I think he's got another step to make, and that could be at Burnley getting promoted, or it could be, as we said, a Leicester, a Brighton, for argument's sake. Okay,
so we've already said you think Kelleher should stay. Some players that should stay at the clubs that there's been speculation around. The 2 lads at Norwich in particular, Adam Ida coming back off injury, Andrew Modelli coming back off injury as well. A season playing week in, week out, touch wood, where the injuries are off for them.
And again, I know I'm potentially repeating myself, or I must be, but just because they've fallen into the Championship, that's why I leave them in. like they could benefit so much by this week in, week out football. Both of them. Both of them have the potential to be real stars. I made the mistake of talking about Andrew and Bamidele and Rio Ferdinand, and I won't make that mistake again. But he's such a good
I don't think
player.
it was a mistake. We should all dream high.
Well, absolutely. But saying it out loud is different. Look, what I mean is, I think the world of that player.
Yeah.
I think, but obviously he's with his injuries now. This is really good. Norwich have, in English football terms, really stable, well-run club. They're either a championship or premiership club by and large, and it's brilliant opportunity for them just to play week in, week out.
Good manager who's got a team out of that division, who knows what it takes to keep a team up as well. I'm a big fan of that.
And we were starting to see the best of Adam, either in terms of just before his injury. It was like he'd learned the game. It was like he was starting to grow into his role. So I think potentially the two of them have a real big season ahead of them. Getting to that 35 games would be huge for them. So potentially that's excellent.
And Michael Obafemi, he's in the right place for them.
Yeah, and someone like Michael, and it's the same with a lot of young players, but you could tell he's found a home. When you listen to the manager speak about him, it's very much they're in sync.
Yeah, but that's after a period. No, it's after a period of tough love at the start where they were like, this guy's not fit enough.
Yeah,
and then they got him fit and he started scoring goals.
He wasn't fit enough,
and he responded to that. So that's the best part, because you've seen other players who've been told they're not fit, they're not putting it in, and they huff.
Yeah,
and they're like, oh, that's your fault, not mine. It's like, that's not going to work.
No, but
come through that.
By and large, like we have the superstars who come through no matter what. Right, but by and large, most young players go through a phase where they're challenged in all sports, to be fair. And I think with these guys, same with Troy Parker, the penny drops. I think it's and even going back to Smallbone, maybe that injury was just what you need sometimes, a young player. Just time out a game to go, right, reassess, what do I have to do. I think the way Obafemi finished the season and the way he was a real bright spark in the Irish squad, you could see, I wouldn't say he's difficult to manage, but you could see that at times you would have to, like, and I actually think Stephen is a great manager because he embraces these type of characters. We've had them at different levels, of course, but whether it's been the Richie Towers of the world or all the way through as 21s, whether it's been Aaron Connolly, Troy Parrott, good experience with these people. And sometimes they're almost free spirits. You've got to give them, create an environment for them to be superstars, and we have a real chance with some of these young players.
All right, you've given us a projected team here which has an average age of 21.2, which is fairly sensational, right? So we're not saying this team is going to take the field,
and nor should it, or it could. But if this team started and everyone in terms of ended up, what would we worried about? We'd worry about Jason Knight getting a move, okay? And
I'm just going to name it out for our radio listeners. So it's Bazzuno in goals. You've got Owen Bamidele at right back, Collins and O'Shea at centre back, and Joel Bagan. Am I pronouncing that right?
Yes.
Yeah. So he's the guy at Cardiff. You said the left back. He's 20. O'Shea's 23. Collins is 21. Owen Bamidele's 20. Bazzuno's 20. You've got Josh Cullen in his normal role. You've got Malumbi and Knight alongside him. Malumbi's 22. Knight's 21. Up front, Obafemi 21, Adamida 21, Troy Parrott 20.
Like, if Ireland announced that team without the age brackets behind it, there wouldn't be a big uproar. What we doing? Like, and so now you prefer that team with a bit of experience in it, but it just shows you that again, we hopefully we're not going to get into the debate around whether Stephen's right managing, but it shows you, and a lot of them players have caps under the amount of heavy lifting that's been done in Irish football with our young players over the last 2 years is close to on the brink of something special. Where what's my concern is how many of them are going to go to the next stage. We just don't know, and their club is crucial to that. And also, we're probably missing, like a Wales had, some European Championships World Cup, a Gareth Bale, a Robbie Keane. We're probably one little star away and somebody coming from somewhere, but potentially we've got a squad. If by hook or by crook we got into the Euros next, imagine these young players, the average age 21.2. If my maths is right, I may be off a little bit here and there, but imagine if we got to a European Championships in this campaign. We've got potentially 8 years, and don't forget we've got like
more players coming
more
through.
players coming through. Young Evan Ferguson's in the squad every week since Christmas.
Yeah.
At Brighton, hasn't played or just about played, but we've got players like that. Conor Coventry, Smallbones not in that list, who's in and around the Southampton squad. We're very close to something really special, and I think that's why the last window taught me a big lesson. I was on commentary after the Armenia game, and I was really critical, and a lot of my friends came to me after going, you know, you've went heavy on Stephen, like, who again is a good friend, and I was like, right, okay, but I think it was deserved. But actually, what the window taught us is we've got to be patient with. We've got young players who are coming up and down and up and down. We've got to find the consistency.
Success is lumpy. Yes. That's it. Yeah. All right. That was interesting. That team will be good, and that's why this window is hugely important for some of those players, just to get a move if they're going to be available to us and useful to us, and to see exactly where their future is going to be. And
we're relying again on English football, by and large, to do a big chunk, because we can't do anything about it, and we're light years away from being able to. But we need English football and Championship football to help us out here, because we're right on the brink of something special.
Vinny, good stuff. Thanks a million for joining us in the studio today.